So from where we were last time, which was in module 1, we ran out of time, so I very quickly went all the way to the bottom of my slides here for module 1, and I encouraged everyone to try to make these two graphics, if you will, within Thani. And that was done. In fairness to those who were not successful, if you were not successful, no harm, no foul, because really, I think if you go look at that video, which is on YouTube at the channel that I posted for you, I think we had maybe, gosh, no more than 30 seconds or 60 seconds max, where I talked about graphics in Thani. I talked about the turtle, and it's the whole purpose of that example really is it's great if you have the time and the luxury to work with students for 10, 15, 20 minutes as they try to play with some of these shapes on their first week in the class, because there's not a whole lot of commands you need to learn. It's really forward, right, left type of thing. It's easy to pick up. And on this slide here, you can see the slides, correct? Can someone give me some thumbs up in the actual participants view? I see some head nodding, cool. So yeah, have the participants window up. So if I ask for a thumbs up, y'all can, thank you, David. And so since y'all can see this, like where I also skipped and I did very quickly last time, just because we ran out of the meeting time, is you can also have the turtle pick up its pin. And again, we're not going to play with the turtle a lot. I mean, really, it's just used first week or two to give some fun problems to play with, just to prove with very little knowledge of programming that you can spend a lot of time problem solving and getting stuck. Because I don't know if I have it. I had a problem that I did with the class live this semester, the college students, where after they solved this one, I said, okay, let's go make the American flag. And I wasn't planning to do that. It was just on the fly. I said, great, well, you made that big star. Now let's go make the 50 stars in the exact positioning. So we had to go look at the picture of the flag first to remember how they organized, then try to make the flag. And I think one student did it, and they had around 2,000 lines of code. Now, of course, you're not going to type all that code. Like once you get one star, right, and it's perfect, then you're going to copy that section of code to make the other stars. You're going to copy it and paste that code to make the other stars on that same line. Then you're going to copy all of those collection of stars, which is a row of stars. You're going to copy all of that code and then paste it to make the other rows. So you're not typing 2,000 lines of code, but in the end, it was impressive that, you know, within the first week and the first day of really coding, students in class, almost all of them had 1,000 lines of code, and they were impressed. They were like, whoa, this is insane, that 1,000 lines of code, and we just got started. So the value of the turtle is really just, there's very few commands a student needs in order to just try to really think and to prove that it's a problem-solving mindset of how do you actually do this. Now, what I gave you here was not the two hardest problems. It was just some sets of squares as well as a star. So I like can anyone raise their hand who would like to show us your code specifically for this first one that had the 4 boxes? If you can raise your hand and put it in the participant window. If you are willing to show us the code that you have, your solution to this one. I was about to call on someone who had their hand up, but then the hand went down. So Leighton, perfect. So Leighton, I'm going to hit stop share, and then hopefully you'll be able to figure out at the bottom of your screen, it's going to show you where you can share your screen. So go ahead and do that, Leighton. And you're showing us the boxes.
Okay.
Nicely done. So what did you do? You first made the outer box, I see, and then you made the inner boxes. You went forward 100 and 200. Nicely done. Okay. And there's many ways you could have solved that. This was just one example. Nicely done, Leighton. So I'm going to hit stop participant sharing. Who would like to show their solution for the star problem? So here's where I have a little bit of a bias when I look at who's raised their hands. We'll call in a couple, but I see my daughter. Let me call on her as well. Mariam, so if you can screen share, and then I'll call on someone else as well. So if you can screen share, Mariam, and then you'll unmute your microphone if you want to say anything with it. So here on the turtle one, did you hit run? I think yeah, there you go. That came across slowly, but so go ahead and hit close and run it again. Yeah, I think it's actually solving it before the window pops up. There we go. Okay, so with this one, all you really had to do, as I mentioned, was go to Google and look up how do you actually, like, what is the angle? Once you do that first 200 to move across, she made that horizontal line. I think that's what she did first. She went right because the turtle starts out facing right. Then you just have to know, well, how many degrees do you turn? Like on the square, you were turning 90. How many is it here? That's just a matter of looking that up and Googling it. And the answer was apparently 144. So great job. And we had, did anyone do this differently? I'm gonna hit stop sharing. Anyone else who had their hand raised from Musab, David, Ayub? David, do you have a different solution or would you like to show that? We'll look at one more.
One moment, just having technical difficulties.
No issue, David.
Can you see it?
I sure can.
Yeah, the main difference was I just did a for loop.
Sure.
For making the star.
And that's why I said I don't mind if every now and then some of the attendees want to flex to show what they know. So in this case, students are like, what did he just do? Don't worry about it would be my answer. So David, I think what you did is you shared your Thani screen as opposed to sharing your entire screen, and that's okay.
Oh, all right.
I'll trust you that it worked.
It does. I
yeah.
thought I shared my whole screen. My bad.
It's okay. No issue at all. So let's go ahead and move on. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. So great job, everyone. Those were only 2 problems, and you'll see that we're going to have a lot more to work on today. So let me back up briefly, and we're going to spend, I hope, no more than 5 minutes here. I hope I don't talk too fast, but I'm going to intentionally try to talk fast because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. So I'm going to come back to what we skipped. So the anatomy, I think you know the word anatomy, right? The anatomy of a Python program is what? You have statements and you have comments. And that's really it. Statements are all of the commands of your program. Comments are very important. New programmers do not understand the value of comments, and I'm going to just press it on you all of the time. Comments are lines in your program that you're typing that do not actually execute. So if I were to here type print hello, we did hello world last time, right? So I did hello world, and I run this. Can y'all confirm that you can share that you can see my screen? Am I screen sharing here? Can I get some let me pull up the participants. Sorry. Chloe, y'all can see my screen. Is that correct? I don't see anyone with video. Okay, great. So if y'all can put your thumbs down now, if you don't mind. So when I ask next time, I can be able to see the thumbs go up. So here, if I run this, I get hello world. If I come put a pound sign, a hashtag, in front of it, notice that the color changes, right? The color changes of the text. That line of code is no longer a line of code. It's a comment. What is a comment? It's something that is not interpreted by the Python interpreter. It's ignored. So, you know, I can put this print statement and I can say as a comment, here is a print statement below. That's the idea of commenting. It's to explain your code. Now, I don't need to explain a print statement, obviously, but as programs get larger and larger and more complicated, Absolutely. In real life and software engineering, earlier this year, I was invited out to Menlo Park, California, to the Facebook headquarters, and with 15 other faculty from across the nation for a specific purpose. But what was really cool is while we were there, they had us shadow an engineer to see what they do for 3 hours. And it was nice to see how we always tell students to comment and how those engineers were doing a lot of commenting in their code. It was fantastic because you need, when you're working on a program in real life, you're usually not by yourself. You're going to be in a team of a dozen or more other people in just your small team. So when you code something, you need to comment, hey, I did this and here's why, or I corrected these lines and here's what was the intention. But even if you're by yourself, the purpose of commenting is to remind yourself, later on when you're looking at your code, why you did something in a specific point in time. So comments are very important. Let's go back to our slides. So the anatomy of our program: statements, comments, indentation. Statements are any of the commands in Python. Indentation is why I would argue Python is the best starting language. So I have open here an old Java program. Don't worry about understanding it. This is a program from a course called Data Structures. It's not important to understand the content. What is important is as we learn Python, we're gonna talk about indentation, and this is true for any language. We're gonna learn if and else statements just next week. So how if we type if, and then we put something inside the if, that thing that is inside is going to be indented over, or what's inside the else will be indented over. What else can I say on this? Let me scroll down. Where's my main? Bear with me. Where's my main? I think I opened a program. Actually, this does not have a main. I'm trying to see if I have a loop. So here, all of these lines of code are indented over because they're inside my if. And they're all indented over because they're inside this else. My point of sharing this is going to be confusing because you're new, but an experienced programmer, you can look at this code and you can easily understand it because of the indentation. Okay, just trust me. What do I mean by indentation is the space to the left. So this line of code right here on line 85, the space to the left of that is the indentation. And we can understand the code, what it's doing logically based off of the indentation. So why is that important for Thani? Because this is Java code. Well, for Java or for C or for C#, for most other languages, indentation is so important, but it's not a requirement. It's so important, but it's not a requirement. So this Java code, if I removed all indentation, if I do this, and I remove all indentation, so now there's no indentation, this just became the most horrific, ugly looking code in the world. To try to follow what's going on there is so difficult due to not having indentation. It is extremely difficult. Just trust me on that, okay? It is so difficult, but it still works. And so what happens with new programmers who learn programming as a first language in Java or in Python, I'm sorry, or in C or C++, and Sean, I see your hand, but I'm not gonna take a question just yet. So what happens is, if they learn the first language in Java or C, for example, they end up, many new programmers, not indenting their code, and they write code like this, which is horrifically ugly. It's brutal to read, but it works just fine. But what's nice is that in Python, the only way your code works correctly is with the appropriate indentation. If you have a correctly indented Python program, and then you remove the indentation, your program will no longer work correctly or even at all. So the value of indentation in Python, is that it's required, and it teaches good programming style, and it teaches good programming habits. That's all you need to know, but just know that that is a very strong argument for why Python is arguably maybe one of the best starting languages. Special symbols, opening and closing parentheses. You saw that in this print statement, right? So we have print, and then this is a command, okay? And then we need parentheses. And these parentheses really mean that this print is a function. Think of it like a command to do something. It's a function that does something. So whenever you see parentheses in Python, that is a function. And now inside the parentheses, if you see single quotations or if you see a set of double quotations, so single or double, either one, inside those quotations is where you would put your line of text. Hi, my name is Bob, for example. And then we can run those 2 lines of code. So we understand what is the pound sign or the hashtag. It goes before a comment. So here I can turn this into a comment. So now that line will not print, okay? And then the opening and closing of double quotation marks or single quotation marks is to enclose within them a string of text, such as, hi, my name is Bob, or such as, hello world, okay? What else? So programming style and documentation, you want comments throughout your code, you need appropriate indentation as well. And when we get to indentation, I'll talk about the importance of spacing and how we do that within Python. Errors, I'm going to get to errors later on once we start having larger programs and errors. But in the end, what is computer science? It's really problem solving. It's really, we learn Python only as a tool in our toolbox to help us solve problems. The goal, when I teach to new college students, when I tell them, hey, we're going to learn Java, but it's not really about learning Java. It's not about learning C or Python. It's about learning a tool that's going to help you prove your solution to your problems. Because when given a problem as a computer scientist, as a student, you want to try to understand that problem. Firstly, you don't try to solve it unless you understand it, right? I hope that's clear. And then secondly, once you understand it, you need to develop your solution. So here's maybe a new word for some of us. That solution is called an algorithm. What is an algorithm? It is your recipe. It is your recipe for how you prepare that solution. What do you want to happen in that solution? The step-by-step set of directions for your solution in order to get the appropriate result. So that is your algorithm. This is why I tell people it's normally like a recipe. Someone just messaged, that's fine here. If you ever have a problem with Zoom, just make sure you reboot your computer is what I would encourage you to do. So always reboot before coming online, whether that be for this or for your classes as well as you're at home. That will make your life easier. So this is what is programming. You need to first develop your algorithm. You develop your recipe, which is your solution to how do you approach the problem. And then after developing that recipe, that algorithm, now you're ready to actually implement it in code to test how accurate and how correct your proposed algorithm is. So I want to give a little point here. Who's good at programming? I would say basically anyone can be good at programming. Are you good at problem solving? Are you good at strategy? Are you good at whether that be card games or board games or all kind of strategy games? Those are the people who are great at problem solving. Just because I see a hand up, I'll very quickly see if there's a question. I'm trying to move through this quickly. I've already spent well over the 5 minutes. That happens. But Nate, you have your hand up. Do you have a quick question?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly know what's the difference between the double quotation marks and the single quotation marks? Does that change anything?
Yeah, okay, great. No, the short answer is no, it does not. I'm going to use them differently the way I teach Python, and when we get to that, I'll explain more. But for Python programming purposes, I want to say, unfortunately, there is no difference because I like to teach more of a general programming approach. Python has some unique things to it as a language. Many other languages, there is a huge difference between double quote and single quote. In Python, there is no difference between a pair of double quotes or a pair of single quotes. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you all to come read these last few slides on your own. What is the programming? What are the phases of software development? It's like just 2 slides. The whole idea is, and this is my main message in summary, when you're given a problem, step away from the computer before you hurt yourself. Hands off of the keyboard. New students, as soon as they're given a problem, they love to go put their hands on, oh, I'm gonna try to solve it. And then I say, what are you solving? And they say, I don't know. They don't even know what they're solving. Forget the solution to it because they're so having the mindset of, let me just get going on it. No, back away from the keyboard, from the computer. You need to think about that solution. Have it written on a piece of paper. Develop your recipe. Test it on that piece of paper. Make sure it works. And then when that's done, then and only then do you put your hands on the keyboard and you start actually coding up a test of that solution, okay? What is here in the slides, and I'll post this in a little bit, is we're going to use this website Replid. There's no purpose of going there yet because I haven't given you the link for our course, and I'll do that very shortly because I don't want y'all focused on that when we're trying to solve some other problems to get today together. But Replid is going to be fantastic, and if I don't remember in the next 30 minutes or so to come back to this and show you what Replid is, please, someone do let me know, because this is where I'm going to put our problems every week. It's really, really cool because at this website, you're going to solve a lot of short problems. You're going to submit them there at that website, and it's going to automatically grade it for you, which is really, really cool. And but these are like problems that might be 1 line of code to maybe 20 lines of code, very short problems, but it's just a way of being able to test yourself, because this is not a graded boot camp, right? But it's a way to assess yourself. Are you understanding the material? So if I don't remember to come back to that, please, someone else do absolutely remind me. So let's move on. I'm going to come here to module 2, and let's actually start working on some programs together. So I encourage you, within your Thani, if you look at my screen, what I've done is every time I get to a new module, I make a new program. So I would encourage everyone to do this. Your Thani should be open, and you should go to File, New, and then File, Save, or you hit Control S, and make a new program, call it Module 2 Notes, okay, or Module 2 _ Notes. For every new module, you want to make a new program called just Module 2 Notes. So as I'm talking and we're covering something new, you can type that up and you can test it for yourself. Is it working? Okay, so again, within your Thani, which should be open, go to File, New, and then go to File, Save, and call it Module 2 Notes, which I already have open. Now, within each module, you're going to do this. So here's my file that I created called Module 2 Notes. Also, as we go through this module, we're going to solve many smaller problems that are going to be outside of the notes, and we're going to make many additional programs. So I want that to be very clearly articulated. So we're going to have our notes, but we're also going to have additional Thani programs that are outside of your notes, and you're not going to want to do those in your notes because your notes will get too cluttered, right? They'll get too crowded. So here's the first couple of notes that we have. So what else? I'm going to go ahead and type this in my notes. So obviously these are just notes for me, but if I'm typing it, it would be maybe helpful if you type it. So I'll type single and double quotation marks do the same thing. And what is that they do? They enclose strings of text. So I could say here, print with a single quote, hi, my name is Chloe. Sorry, Chloe, using your name there. So whether it's a double quote or a single quote, either way, it works the same. Okay, that's to answer that question again. So back to the module itself. Here's the objectives. You can look at that. So write a program that will calculate the area of a circle. It's a very simple program. And we're not at this point even reading from the user, which we're going to do just in the next 10 minutes. But for now, we're not. Again, this is not the time to flex. I know some of you already know how to do this, but the assumption is most of us don't. Write a program that will calculate the area of a circle. Well, some students are in here, oh, let me go do that real quick, and they're trying to knock that out, and we haven't even talked about it. So my comments are yellow. Does that change anything? Sean, I do see that now. Thank you. I was looking at the chat. No, it doesn't matter if your comments are yellow. As long as you're putting the pound sign in front of it. It's just that I have my Thani set up differently and color coded differently. So you can actually, within your Thani, it's kind of cool. You come to Tools, Options, and where is this? Probably Theme and Font. And so I just played with this a lot, and I changed it. You know, I made a dark theme. I changed the I changed the type. Yeah, let me change it. Watch. Enhanced, clean sepia. Nope, I don't like that one. Clean dark, fine. Clean dark blue is what I have mine as, I believe. And you can change your various font theme and syntax theme. So tomorrow, right now, mine says tomorrow night 80s. I could make it to classic. There's a different theme, right? Here I'm gonna go back to tomorrow night 80s. So it depends on what you like. That's why yours has a different color. Programmers, we're weird. We like to really get in there and change all the details for us. So Imran, we can chat about that afterwards. I'm looking at the chat. I'm glad you finally were able to get on, Imran. So what I mentioned when I saw your message, I was not able to answer you in Slack, but I saw that you mentioned that you were having an issue. Everyone, just make sure before we have our boot camps, also before you have your classes at your respective high schools, if you use Zoom or any other software product, do reboot your computer. Have mercy upon yourself. Have mercy upon your computer. Reboot your computer so it will work at its optimum levels for you. So let's get back to this. This is coming back to the module. Write a program that will calculate the area of a circle. So what do we say? Step 1 and 2. Step 0 is hands away from the computer. Back away. Notice I backed away. Back away. Hands off. And step 1 is problem solving phase always. Step 2 is the implementation phase, okay, where we're actually going to code. But now, as far as the problem-solving phase, we have 10 minutes left for this meeting, and it might end abruptly, and then we'll start a second one. Our problem-solving phase, if we want to calculate the area of a circle, well, we need our recipe. We need to design our algorithm. So you notice I'm going to come back to my Thani, and I'm going to keep my module 2 notes open because here's where I'm going to type my notes for module 2. But now, since I'm being asked to solve a specific problem, right? Write a program to calculate the area of a circle. I'm going to make a new program. So file new, and then file save. And I'm going to call this area of circle 1. I'm calling it 1 because we're going to make 2 of them. Area of circle 1 is what I'm calling this. So it's a brand new program, okay? So what is the recipe? The recipe, in order to calculate this area of the circle, is as follows. First of all, I hope you know the equation for the area of a circle. The area of a circle is pi times radius squared. So really pi times radius times radius. So the algorithm is we need a radius. We need to then calculate the area, and then we need to display the result. And even though this is a very simple program, I'm going to actually write all of that down as comments because we want to get into good programming habits. So I'm going to come here to my area of the circle problem, and I'm going to write my recipe as comments before I actually code the problem. So here I'm going to say get or set the radius of the circle. And you should be making these comments as well. Compute the area of the circle, and then print the results. That's our recipe. It's a very small problem. It should be straightforward. And let's see what we have. So how do we set the area of the circle? I'm going to do this one, and then we're going to do another one. I'll have someone else lead us through the solution of another one. And these are all going to be very basic, but we'll start with this. How do we set the radius of a circle? I'm going to type radius equals 10. And I'm not even going into the nitty gritty. I'm not explaining everything I'm typing at the moment. We'll get to that later. Just work with me and type this. Radius equals 10. How do we calculate the area? Well, we know the equation, area, so type the word area, equals, and put a space, equals space. Now type pi times radius, and put the value for pi. So what is pi? 3.14159. I'll put it detailed. You can go more. You can just put 3.14, whatever you like. 3.14 is fine. Times, how do you do times? Times is not an X. In programming, times is shift 8. It's the asterisk, the star, shift 8. So 3.14 times radius times radius, because that is pi r squared, because we know that r squared is really radius times radius. We have now calculated the area of that circle, which you do know to be 3.14 times 10, which is really times 100. And 3.14 times 100, I hope you can all guess, is 314, right? So now let's make our print statement. And I'm going to type, notice I put a quotation, and let's just follow me here, and we're going to explain it afterwards. I'm going to type area is, and then I put my close quotation, comma, and then I type the word area in lowercase. So I want to go slow to give you a chance for all of you to type that yourself. Area is, I put that in quotations. Then after I close the quotation, meaning after I put, so here's the opening quotation. And then I have a second quotation which ends that string. And then I put a comma, and then I put the word area. Now, so for those of you who have 2 monitors, this is really easy for you to do. But many of you probably, most of you probably have 1 monitor, a laptop or a desktop. And let me teach you something very quickly to allow you to go back and forth, because I imagine the challenge is you're trying to follow what I'm doing, but you're also trying to type this up. And so you're having to go back and forth, and you're having to then grab your mouse and go back from one screen to the other. For people who have a PC, not a Mac, a PC, put your left thumb on the key that says Alt, A-L-T, and hold it, and then hit Tab and release. So Alt-Tab and release it. Then do it again, Alt-Tab and release it. Alt-Tab, release it. So if you hold Alt and you hit Tab and then release both, what it does is it goes from one screen to your last screen. Okay, now of course you can divide your screen in half and try to put one on the other and one on the other side, but that's going to be kind of hard for you if you have a small laptop. So Alt-Tab, now if you hit Alt and you then you keep holding Alt, but you keep hitting Tab over and over. I don't know if you can see this on my screen. Can y'all see that can y'all see what's on my screen, how it's going back and forth? Thank you, Nate. I see your head nodding. So if I'm holding Alt right now and I keep hitting Tab, okay? So it's allowing me to choose which one I want to go to. But if you have 2 that you're trying to go back and forth between, Alt-Tab, when you just hit Alt and then you hit Tab and you release it over and over, I keep hitting Alt and Tab and releasing. It goes back and forth between the last window you were at. Now on a Mac, I don't know what that is. If anyone has a Mac and you know what it is, you can let us know if you have a Mac with a laptop. But on a PC, this is what you do. So someone said that you have a Mac and you swipe, possibly. Yeah, I think on a Mac, I think on a laptop, there's like a 2-finger swipe or something. But anyway, just figured that might help for some of you as you're trying to go back and forth. It's just easier to do that. So let me run this and then we'll explain some of it. Because sometimes it's just easier to dive right into your code. So at the bottom of my Thani, I can keep open my old runs of the program. There's no harm. So if you can look at my screen in case you're at yours. So at the top of Thani is where I have my code, and the bottom is where I have my output, where I'm running my program. If every now and then you want to clear the bottom, you can right click and then hit clear. You don't need to do that. You don't need to, but if you want to, you can. So I cleared it, and now I'm going to run my program, and I get this. Area is 314.0. That's precisely what we wanted. So let's talk about that. And then we're going to do a deep dive into what these things mean. And I see that we have 2 minutes left for this first session. We'll take a couple-minute break when it ends, and then we'll come right back and I'll post a new Zoom link. So here, I've said radius equals 10. This is what right here? This is a variable. So I'm going to put a comment. Radius is a variable. I could have called it anything. In fact, I could have called it Nate. How do you spell your last name? M-A-G-U-I-R-E. I could have called it Nate McGuire. And then I would have had to, of course, put this as Nate McGuire here. And this is Nate McGuire here. And I'll get the same exact answer. You can call it whatever you want. Now, of course, it doesn't make sense to call radius Nate McGuire. There's no logic there, but it's just a variable. You can call it whatever you would like to call it. No harm, no foul, but we like to use good variable names. So if you're calculating the radius, or if you're calculating the area or setting the radius, you should use a variable name that makes sense, right? Don't call it X. I mean, X makes no sense here. Why would you call this X, right? There's no logic to call that X. Call it what it is. It's called radius, okay? So that is simply a variable, and we're setting the value of that variable to 10. And then we took the result, that 10, the value of 10, multiplied it times 10, multiplied it times 3.14, got 314, and saved that into the area. And finally, we printed the area. I need about 60 more seconds to finish this, but I see that it says we have less than 1 minute, and I would like to have us end gracefully instead of have it crash and shut us down. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share and end this meeting, and give yourself like a minute or two, and I'll come right back with a new Zoom link to have our second session.